Hey folks, I think this is on. Welcome. It is Wednesday for our normal stream, which is usually at the top of the hour, but because, Game Guy, our friend, says that we can see and hear and look. I got the notification already that YouTube is completely on top of this. So folks, welcome. It is our Wednesday time slot, and here is the plan per usual. One, if you are new to the chat and I don't know who you are and you don't know who I am or anyone else here, you should introduce yourself and tell us a bit about what you're working on and why you are here and what you would look to come get out of a meeting like this. Basically, the reason that we meet once a week is to, one, be held accountable, right? We say, okay, this is what I plan to do this week. And it helps if somebody knows, right? Somebody knows that I'm going to do X, Y, Z, and I'm going to do it by next Wednesday. And I have them to come back to and say, hey, I did it, or maybe I didn't. And here is why, because so many of us, like, look at my office, right? It's completely empty. You can even hear the sound bouncing off I have no colleagues, right? I have no water cooler. So this is the water cooler. This right here, folks in the chat, this is our going to the pub after work. So let's remember that that's what it is for. You're welcome to lurk and work. I just like to know that you're here and let me know. You say, hey, I'm here, I'm listening, I'm working. It's good to just surround ourselves with other like-minded people. And this is an opportunity for that. So for the first time, since I'm now a Twitter twit, I posted on Twitter that we were here. And so there may be new people rolling in, there may not, but we may need some help from folks in the chat, especially when people are like, what are you doing? Where is the value? Where is the information? And I say, that's not this kind of stream. I mean, yes, there can be information here, but mostly this is an opportunity to network, to commiserate, to share, and to just be seen and be heard in a way that maybe is not possible for a lot of us who are either just getting started or who don't have an interest in developing a social channel like YouTube or like Facebook or Twitter or whatever. So yes, so for those of you who are in the chat already, I am going to come over and say hi here in a second, but please feel free to announce yourself and say, here I am, and this is what I'm about, and ready, go. I'm looking at my list of stuff to do. Obviously, we cannot avoid the elephant in the room, the Google update elephants, car crashes. I would love to hear about how you are managing, how you are, if you are suffering, like I would like to know. And also if there's anything that you know or see, you could say, okay, yeah, I'm pretty sure this is why, although I don't expect that because frankly, I don't know, right? I'm planning on sharing where my stuff is at over the last 30 days and also talk about accountability. So everybody has their assignment for the chat. The only other thing you need to do is lightly massage the like button. We don't actually know if that does anything, but everybody says that you should, and Graham Stephan like really is emphatic about it. So I can't help it. Saying a hey to the chat. Game Guy got here first. Thank you so much. And there is Keith. What's going on, Keith? Despair Repair. Third place. I don't recognize your handle, so please feel free to tell me about yourself if you have not. Hosting Researcher is fourth. Thank you for dropping in if you are new. There is Jen and Zach. Zach, by the way, thank you for being so welcoming on Twitter and for occasionally retweeting or even mentioning that the stream is here today. That is awesome. Margaret is here. And she's like, I'm not going to be tricked. It wasn't the time, like an official time change. It was me. I am the time change. And I'm sorry to have tricked you last week. It just sort of happened. There is Sabina and Maeve and Sonia and Emil and Harold and Dorkrider. Folks, I saw that our friend Dorkrider jumped into our accountability group in the last week or so. His name is Chad. So hello, Chad, and welcome. We would love to know more about you, Chad, and feel free to use the chat either to coordinate or talk to other folks who are in this accountability group. And when I'm waving over here, it's because there's another screen over there and I'm currently waving at the accountability group. Also, I do want to shout out that occasionally and frequently, I think it is a great idea for folks to set up their own what we call masterminds, which is really just a group of people getting together in a small group regularly to talk about their business, talk about lives, support each other. I think this live stream is a great opportunity to do that, but it's not necessarily as much back and forth, right? And people in the chat can chime in. They can say, hey, this is a great idea or not, or hey, I'm looking for a mastermind. But I really think that this is my past 4 years in this business, this game. People, I'm like frantic on the air quotes today, game. That meeting with other people and creating meaningful professional or friendship relationships with other people who are doing this same business model is almost, I would say, vital. It is necessary to moving on to the next level of wherever it is you like to go. So if it's from 0 to 100, moving on beyond that, or from 100 to 1,000, moving beyond that, like surrounding yourself with like-minded people who are supportive, who may know more than you or a little more than you, or people who are on their way to catch up with you, just to keep you in the right mindset and to know that there's someone else out there who is, one, going through the same thing you are, two, understands what you are suffering through. And believe me, our spouses and friends and work colleagues that have regular 9-to-5s, they do not understand. They think that we're probably selling drugs to Eastern Europe somewhere, and or weapons or something. They think that we're getting scammed or scamming, and that's truly not what's happening. But the only people that really understand are this. So you are welcome in the chat to say, hey, I am looking for a mastermind. I would love to connect with like-minded folks. You can use the Icarus spreadsheet as a place to connect and say, hey, I'm here. I'm looking to jump off to meet some people who are in this range for income or who have this particular goal. Like I saw Zach and I hope you'll forgive me if I mention this, but Zach on Twitter was saying, hey, I'm looking to start a mastermind of my own, looking for people earning between X and Y, and then looking in particular for people who are focused on building a brand versus building these other things. And I think that's a great thing. So first of all, Zach, like high five, commend you for sticking your neck out and saying, I think it might be time, because I really, really, really do think that those connections and those support groups, that networking has made a difference for me. I don't think I would be still doing this right now, but for those other people who I grew along with over the last couple of years. So I'm just going to throw that out there. Jen jumps in and says, another reason we get here is to celebrate milestones that others won't understand. 100%. So this is a great time to give the virtual high five. My daughter in kindergarten created a mustache. So for folks that deserve a sound effect, today they will get a mustache. So okay. So I have some like legitimate niche website stuff to talk about, but I really wanted to like pat my own self on the back or give my own self a mustache. So I joined Twitter recently, and literally the highlight of my Twitter experience, that is totally not focusing again. The highlight of my Twitter experience was that I managed to rickroll somebody that I like and respect. That will not refocus. All right, let's see if we can make it work. Ready, camera? I think that worked. All right. So here's what happened, right? Apparently, it's really a thing on Twitter for you to post like a graph or a screenshot and then have lots of people, just like they do on YouTube, say, please send the URL or share the URL. And I think Mushfiq was joking, like he was playing along, and he just wrote send URL. And so and only some of you who are older will understand this, but I went and pulled the link for the clip on YouTube to the Never Gonna Give You Up, the Never Gonna Let You Down song, and I posted it in there, and I never thought that anybody would actually follow it. So two things: follow it and then understand what had been done to them. And he followed it. So I totally rickrolled Mushfiq on my second day on Twitter, and it's basically made my whole week. I may not need to do anything else on Twitter ever again. First of all, he was old enough to understand what it was. I shared this with I was proud of myself, so I told my friend Chris, Niche Safari Chris, and he's like, I don't get it. It's like, man, do I have to go to Wikipedia and find the link to explain what it means to rickroll somebody? I know SEO Twitter is supposed to be this place where, we share information and we're, really good to each other. And these things, but can you tell I'm still tickled at myself? Like, let me give you a mustache. All right. Going back to the chat, and I see our friend Chris Miles in there. Chris recently joined Twitter. Chris, if you manage to rickroll somebody, I will high five you. Says he doesn't like massaging the like button, but he will. Okay. Ravi is here from India, staying up late. Thanks, friend, for being here. Talking about Google updates, our friend Maeve, who has just crushed it in the last year, took a hit of 30 to 35%, which is just like a knife in the heart, right? Just hurts. But she believes it's because her site overall is too broad. So you think that has to do with potentially topical authority. Not enough consolidation. So working through clusters and the rest says just need to go back and like support the post that you have. I have a feeling that the Mega site is probably in the same boat, and that is why the other sites that I have aren't suffering as much, because one, they're not as big, so I haven't had many opportunities to experiment. Shiny object syndrome. Just write a post on this because I felt like it. That happens to me a lot. Hey, there's Chris rolling in. Chris, I didn't even realize you were in the chat. Hikerverse, what is going on? For those of you who are new or just dropping in, the expectation is you're here to chat, to tell me about your week, talk about your sites. If you want, even commiserate, and to use the chat as an opportunity to be held accountable. So talk about what you did this last week and what it is you plan on getting done before we circle around and get back here next Wednesday. You can see today I am drinking water instead of the normal coffee. I'm trying to just overall drink less of it. I still drink coffee, but it is, 10 o'clock. I just need to drink a little less caffeine. I think overall that will support me in my efforts to just feel better and be happier in general. Sonia, this is a bummer. So 30% decline in traffic, basically just wiped out all Q3 efforts. Too sad to do anything. Well, friend, if I could pat you on the back, I would. If I could give you a shoulder, I would. This happens sadly to everybody. I know that you may feel like all the efforts in Q3 were wasted, but here's the thing. Let's say something else adjusts, and all of a sudden all those articles that you wrote, like, they would take off, and you'd be so glad that you did it. So fingers crossed that things will come back. And if not, that you find deep, like reach into the well deep in there somewhere to find the will to be persistent and to continue on the pace that you have, because eventually it is going to pan out. That is what I believe, because I think we have to believe that, because if we didn't believe that, then we wouldn't do this. Right? That what would be the point if we thought, oh, well, this is never going to work? I'm like, what are you doing here? So you're surrounded by people who all believe that if we just keep trying, keep putting in the work, that eventually it's going to work out. And I believe that. I believe it's going to work out for you, Sonia. So I'm sorry that happened, but got to find a way. Once you're done commiserating, right? I think it's totally fine to sit down and have a couple days where you eat ice cream or watch some Netflix and like sort of process it and then move on. Sabina says that she hasn't looked, and I applaud you. I wish that I did it, because it doesn't make a difference. All it does is make me feel sad when I see traffic is down. Let's see. Big hugs and yes to Maven, Sonia. Yes, we just wrap our community around our friends and let them know that we've all been there. So not to minimize how you're feeling, I think we all know what that feels like. And everybody here, I think, who's been hit by an update has also found a way to move forward, to overcome it. Sabina says, we are doing a real life event in our niche that's got us so you're doing an event, and the event got you a backlink from a site that is got a DA of 40, which is well done, super creative, and probably way more fun than sending emails to random strangers hoping that they will link to you. So that is awesome. Feel free to share more about it in the chat, what you did and how that is playing out. Did it cost any money? Any tips that you have, feel free to share them. Josh is in the chat. What's going on, Josh? Did you manage to get air conditioning? I mean, everybody wants to know, like, this is the important thing. Do you have air conditioning, or has the seasons changed enough to where you're no longer sweating while you're trying to work? Soren says that he almost forgot. I'm so glad that we are at the top of your list here, Soren, for things of importance. Soren, are you working on sites lately? I saw that you had a new video out about Google Analytics that I have not had a chance to take a look at. So folks, if you don't know Soren, Soren does make valuable and creative videos, and I recommend his small YouTube channel for those of you who have not subscribed. Robbie says, can you share the spreadsheet to which I can join? Let me see if I can do it on the fly. Let's see, anyone with the link can edit. I'm going to copy the link and I'm going to put it in the chat. I will note that I do believe it is in the description underneath this video. I think that's probably the reason why I don't rely upon myself to go and find the links, is because I thought ahead of this already. The link is in the description below. All right. Zach says, I am forgiven. Yes, well, I do many things for which I need to be forgiven, most likely. Ha! Zach says he saw my Rickroll and it was classic. Yes, I'm so proud of myself. It is worth a mustache. Sports Stories is here. What is going on? Chris says, oh, I have an achievement. All right, drum roll. He says, I A/B tested an option pop-up colors and lead magnets and managed to increase his opt-in rate from 0.55% to 2.6. Still hasn't made any money yet, but still I feel like that is a significant increase in opt-ins, and it must, especially if you have a lot of traffic going through the site, that could be a fair number of opt-ins, which is awesome. Despair Repair is getting to their introduction. Let's see, he says he's a part-time blogger and YouTuber trying to go full-time. So if you have a YouTube channel that you think is that those of us who would enjoy or is in this space, you are welcome to put it into the chat, and I will ask the mods if they see it to approve it if possible. He's in the DIY car repair niche, which I think is a great niche if you have knowledge and experience. What a great niche to go in. It's one thing if you want to go into that niche and you don't know the niche, like the information yourself at all. And it's another thing entirely to actually have the experience. I wish I knew how to do something useful like that, right? Something useful, which is awesome. Let's see, scrolling down. Sports Stories is starting this month. I'm running for a new client. High five, which is great. Zach says that he managed to drink less coffee by switching to espresso. Now I only have 4 ounces instead of 3 cups. So, but overall, is the amount of caffeine any different, or could it actually be more? I think it's possible it could actually be more. The lighting that I'm using right now is really interesting and shifting because I have this window and the light is shifting outside, and I think we're going to continue playing with this. Chris said that one of the reasons why his opt-ins increased, he thinks, is by changing the color from green to blue, which is interesting to me. Neo says, if I gave you a profitable niche, would I go for it? You mean if you, Neo Shuttleworth, if you shared a niche with me directly in the stream or on Facebook, would I go for it? The answer is not for me. The reason is not because I would doubt your information or thoughts about whether or not it was profitable. It's because I already have plenty of stuff to work on. And I promised myself that I would not start another new site in 2022. In fact, I should not start any new sites at all until the fight site, which is one of the 3 sites that I'm primarily working on, is at $1,000 a month. So thanks, but not for me. Jay-Z says he's on his 3rd pint of water. Speaking of our friend Electronic Earnings, I was looking in the spreadsheet, John, and I don't see any updates. So your goal for the month was 100 articles on site for the month. And I have no idea what's going on with you, John. Please tell us what is up and how it's going. Sabina's headed into a meeting. Friend, we will see you later. Have a great day. I do say that it's totally fine to take a break when life happens, right? You have a lot going on. It's okay to go to work or take care of your family or have a baby. This is going to be here when you come back. We will still be here. Let's see. Jen says, I think my early posts are finally starting to age. Yes, yes, and rank well. My Google Search Console impressions are 6 times in the last 3 months. Hoping this is the hockey stick moment. We're all hoping for you and thinking the best thoughts for Jen that this is happening, that this is really going to happen, which is amazing. Ken says he sent a harp. I'm guessing that's harp or hero. Email direct by accident and not via the site. Didn't work out and wasted 2 hours of time. That's a bummer. I'm sorry that happened. But hey, you don't know until you try. That's just how it is. Let's see. Soren says he's been working on his authority site lately, which I think is great. Ravi says, a question, what's our view on web stories? Here in India, most of the blogging community are updating that to compensate for code update. And you know what? I'm not doing web stories at all. I think that there are many things that can work. For me, when people come to me with new traffic models or new strategies, for me, that is a bright, shiny object. And so I'm in this routine, right? Like I'm doing the same thing. I feel like it's working. And then somebody waves this thing over here. It's like, hey, look at this thing. It really works. And then I stop working on this other thing to go look at this other thing. And in the meantime, while I'm learning about this other thing, which probably works, which I probably should know about. But in the meantime, this other stuff is not going anywhere. So folks, if you are in the chat and you are using web stories, I would love to know more about how that is working for you, what you are doing, just because generally it's awesome. But for me, I'm like 2021, the mantra was I needed to focus, right? I just said that all around. Just I need to focus on something and focus on that thing, doing the same thing until it gets to the place where I want it to go. So that's what I'm doing. So I'm interested in web stories, but I'm not personally working on them. Ken says he needs to work on backlinks, and I'm like, me too, friend. Me too. Zach says, oh, his espresso is more caffeine, but it's less coffee. Oh my goodness, Phil, Evan, our Reddit Phil, it's like having a celebrity in the house. Phil, how's it going? I have not seen you in the chat on a stream in so long. It's really great to see you. Please let us know how things are going. And I have a question. Are you planning ever updating your public blog that you were sharing, like talking about progress? You ever considering doing another case study that we could follow along with? I would love to know. Sonia says, what does one do after they get hit by an update? What steps to take to recover traffic? Does anyone have experience in this area? I would say that, first of all, many folks in the chat have experience with getting hit with an update. And I think that the first thing you should do is nothing. Don't do anything. There's going to be a lot of people in the next maybe month or 6 weeks that will start opining, sharing their speculations about what was the trouble, what was the drama, what was changed. And if you go out willy-nilly right now and just start doing X and Y and Z, it may have no value to you overall. It may do nothing at all. It could even hurt your site completely and totally. So the first thing to do is nothing. Right? Just chill out, recover, grieve, right? Allow yourself the time to like feel it, but don't do anything with your site right away. Sometimes maybe in, the weeks or months right after the update will be rolled back and you think all of that work that you did, you'll have no way to know whether or not it was impactful. I think right now, at least for me personally, and yes, I did get sucked into the recent round of updates. My thing, instead of really digging into what happened, is to instead stay the course. So to continue doing what was working until I have a clear idea and a clear plan for what I want to do differently. And until I have a clear plan based upon, maybe research or talking with somebody that I really trust, I'm not going to do anything I'm going to put up my air quotes because I've been using them all day, recover, because I don't necessarily know whether that will make a difference. So people in the chat can chime in and say, agree, disagree, and all of the rest. But I really think that the first thing you should do is nothing. And then just stay the course until you know for sure that there is something that you need to change. There is Duke. How's it going? Thank you for dropping in. So it is Pastor Duke, but we talked about this like maybe a month ago. He's like, you don't have to call me Pastor Duke. And I was like, it's your handle. It's on the handle. I just read it's on the handle. So now we have Duke Tabor. And so we'll say, our friend Duke, what's going on? Thank you for dropping in. He says he's been working on his primary site that's 10 years old, taking a break off of affiliate sites and letting them sit until I get inspired on what to do differently to make them work. That's one of the cool things about having multiple sites in a portfolio is that when you get tired of something or you maybe get burned out or you don't feel as passionate about it, is that you could put it down and work on something else. And then when you feel like you're ready to pick it up, it's there for you and it's just waiting. It's just waiting for you to come back. Maeve says that she went to her SEO mentor and asked him, like, oh, so you mean what to do when, because you were hit by 30 to 35% and freaking out. You're like, what do I do? And he said, he said that your site was too broad and need to consolidate and told me, I think even now it's too soon, honestly, to tell. People say, oh, well, I think it's an authority thing. I mean, maybe we think it's that, but I still think it's too early to go and start making dramatic changes, in my opinion. Phil says, I think I'd only do a case study if I wanted to do something cool and then talk about it afterwards. So not going to do one as long as I go along. That's all right. I just found, I found that I like seeing people's written blog reports, because then I can go back and actually look at their charts and compare, right? So they'll put the chart of like how they did in month 5, and then I can go look at a site that I'm working on and how they did on month 5. Am I winning or are they winning? Like, it's creating basically contrived competitions to keep myself motivated. Oh, we've got some Duke fans in the house. Yes, well, we are lucky to have some major or minor celebrities anytime they drop in. Despair Repair has a question. And I'll push this to the chat as well. It says, can guest posts be harmful? I'm getting offers to publish guest posts that aren't that bad, but seem to be spammy. Is there any way to recognize who really wants to contribute? I would say that 99% of requests that you get for a guest post are driven by people who want to get links. And do you want to link to that site in particular? There can be reasons not to do that. I mean, for me in general, I ignore most of those unless I actually go to the site and I evaluate it. I'd say, hey, I really want to be connected to this site in particular. You think of it like a vote of confidence, right? You're telling Google, like, I endorse this site. And if that site is deemed by Google to be spam, to be completely irrelevant to your niche, it's not something that would be there naturally, then I don't think it is that helpful. Will it decimate your site? Probably not. But for me, I almost consider it a distraction, right? If it's not something that I'm sure is really going to be helpful, or if the price is not right, like let's say they're offering you a lot of money, maybe I'm like willing to balance that out and say, okay, let's go with it. But in general, I think guest posts, when they're reaching out to me and saying they want to post on my site, unless there's something I can really get a value from them, I ignore them. Folks in the chat, though, what do you do when people email you and say, hey, I would like to post on your website? And by the way, I will say that anytime I have agreed to a guest post, I regretted it because the content was so bad. So bad. So that's one of the reasons why I don't bother with it, because then I feel like I have to completely rewrite the post, and then it totally defeats the purpose and has cost me time that I could be working on something else that actually pushes me towards my goals. So that's how I feel about guest posts. Our friend Bloggers on the Rise is here. Another like celebrity and what I would consider a celebrity figure worth following in our space, says, talking back, thank you for somebody who's talking about web stories, by the way. She says that they add web stories to any post that gets over 1,000 page views in a month, which is kind of a neat metric, like a good place to say, okay, this is worth investing in. This past 7 days, one of the sites has had 16,000 page views to web stories. Man, it's like another to do I need to put on my list and say, okay, shiny object. You know, it's like squirrel. She doesn't have a good way to track how many clicks into the site. Niche site guy dropping into the chat. He says, I'm not a guru. Well, who is? I mean, even if, I don't know who is really entitled to be, to earn the term guru. You're here among friends, niche site guy. We're here just to chat and share. He says, I'm just learning. Yes, this is the beginning. Oh God, this is the beginning of my 5th year of trying to make money online. And let's look back. So streaming, I started streaming in 2019, but consistently once a week. This is my 3rd year streaming. And I will still say that I'm here trying to learn. So don't feel the need to minimize your experience and say, I don't know what I'm doing yet, because most of us still don't. He said he recently sold a starter site because he needed money to take care of stuff. Yes, that is a good reason to sell a starter site. It's very hard building new from scratch, but it's going great here. I actually like that first year of starting a new site. I feel like it's a child, right? Like you birth them, and then you have all these joys of like their first steps, and you go through it with them, and it's such a joyous time to earn that first dollar, or to get that first 100 page views in a month. And like as they get these steps, just like a child, these wondrous moments come like further and further and farther. There's more time in between, so it's not always as joyous as it is in that first year. So I am addicted to starting new sites, which is why focus was my mantra in 2021, because starting new sites was preventing me from learning what to do with a site in year 2 and year 3, because I was continually just distracted. But yes, I totally get you. Leona says, agree. Talking about updates, it says, breathe, sigh, and keep forward motion. Yes, whatever keeps you going forward, even if it's slower than usual, let's just keep moving forward in some way, somehow. Niche site guy says, my biggest problem is content, and how do I handle that? Well, content is I guess the bulk of the work for the majority of us, and there are many people that handle that in different ways. I personally handle content in 2 ways. One, I write it myself. 2, I pay somebody else to do it. I use writing services when I don't feel like doing it, and if I am going to write it myself, then I write it myself. The primary way right now that I actually get stuff written it has more to do with routine for me than anything else. So if I get out of the habit of writing either daily or on the weekly basis, then when I sit down to write, it's almost impossible. So we think of it like a muscle, right? A muscle that the more you flex it, the more you use it, the easier and the stronger it is, the work goes faster. And that's actually on my list of stuff to talk about later in my accountability moment, if I ever get there, is I'm really finding, so getting up, getting the kids to school, getting my coffee first thing before I shower, before I clean, before I do anything else, is coming back and sitting here and punching out 1 or 2 articles before I go on and do anything else. For me, that's really working. I'm definitely off the pace to try and hit 100 articles in the month for the month of September without outsourcing. And so I definitely have some sprints coming up to try to meet my goal for the month, but that is how I handle content. Other people, I mean, it's such a large question, truly, because you could be asking about, how do I write content? What is my on-page strategy? What Pinterest or YouTube or all the rest. Like for me, it's just sit down, make myself do it, get on with it. Keith says that Ann Moss does nice written income reports. So that was another thing that happened to me on Twitter in the last week. I did get a couple of tweets back and forth with some people that I do admire out in the SEO community, and Ann Moss was one of them. She tweeted at me, and I was like, oh my God, she knows who I am. Well, that happened a couple of times, and I was just so tickled that these people, some of these people know who I am, and then there's so many people who are like, I have no idea. Like, they don't realize that when I sometimes tweet things that I'm joking, and they're like, yeah, unfollow. Like, yeah, people are big. And well, Anne is just crushing it. So it's hard not to be a big fan of hers. And plus, she's just so dang nice, right? You hear her in interviews and like she's so down to earth. And like, man, I just want to be friends with you. There is Sarah rolling in. How's it going, Sarah? Uh, Sports Story says guest posts will not be harmful. It says now with EAT it will help even with the no follow link. Graham, what is going on? Greetings, fellow nichers. Nia says, I'm a freelancer. I can help you with quality content if you don't mind. I'm not currently purchasing freelance content at this time, but thank you for offering. Maeve says, I think I would only do it if it was an article I wanted to do anyway. So we're talking about guest posting. So thinking, okay, this is something that I really need right now. And if not, then not right now. Gameguy says that he ignores people who are asking for guest posts. Eric says he also ignores them. Zach says he ignores them. Bloggers on the Rise says, I think guest posts can be harmful unless they are people I know in my industry. I just delete the email. Most people are looking for backlinks, which is true, And that's not always a bad thing. That is actually one of the strategies that people talk about as far as getting links is to respond to those requests and say, hey, how about instead of getting a guest post, we just do a link exchange, but involving another site. Although you see some horror stories. There's one on Twitter. There's a guy tweeting about now where somebody messaged him about doing a link swap. And then once he had the Twitter tweeters URL to his website, he went and created a copycat website. So not always as simple, especially when you rise to some level of prominence in whatever community that you are in, that people may be using link swap opportunities or even guest post opportunities as a place to gather information about you, to take something that they couldn't necessarily build on their own. Duke says, unless he's in the link building mood, he ignores them. Maeve said, did anyone get the Amazon link to have increased earnings? I nearly junked it. So the Amazon link to have increased I don't know. I don't know. Was there an Amazon link to additional earnings? There may have been, but I probably ignored it. I don't know. Were you supposed to like respond? That sounds like a really good phishing scam for affiliates, for Amazon affiliates. Says, hey, would you like to make more money with Amazon? Click here, give us your social security number, and we will double your Amazon affiliate commissions. Neo says, what blogging course do you recommend? I'm pretty sure down in the description of this video that you'll find a link to Morton Storgard's Passive Income Geek community for folks that are just getting started. In general, that's where I send people. I think really highly of many of the people in our industry. And there are many awesome courses out there, but I generally recommend Morton's course for people who are just getting started for a couple of reasons. One, I've been through it myself. He gave me access to it when he launched it, gosh, almost 2 years ago. Two, he does a lot of over-the-shoulder videos, so him actively doing things so you can see it. So, I mean, those videos are long, but you do have opportunities to see Morton actually doing the things that he's teaching. And three, I know I have personal firsthand knowledge that Morton is actively working on sites right now. So starting new sites, growing them, building them. And for me, that is really important for anybody that would recommend to purchase, to actually invest money in a course. I think there are probably some folks in our community who are making money primarily from courses and are not necessarily in the thick of starting and building sites. I mean, yes, you can have the information and the knowledge. I just don't think there's a substitute for being in the trenches. So Morton is usually who I recommend. I am an affiliate for Morton's course, and the link is in the description. Graham says, I didn't know you were on Twitter. Amelia, I'll have to follow. My Twitter handle is Emilia_Gardner. I think I might even be able to figure out how to share it. Ah, there it is. I'll even put it in the chat right now. There. I don't know what I just pressed. My computer's trying to do something else. There. Let's see. Maeve says it was an email from Amazon, nearly spammed it. You had to click their link to double your rates for real. So now I'm like, I have to stop everything and see what on earth it is that Amazon has done. Yeah, I didn't get that email. Nope, I didn't get that email. Amazon is not trying to give me more money. Apparently, that's just you. He says, regarding that major affiliate program email, read the email. It says, talking about might even get you booted out of the program. Well, I didn't get the email, so talking about it for me, um, they can't take away from me what I never had. Yes, Duke says it was legit. Well, I didn't get it, so that is okay. Apparently, they were not looking for me to offer me that opportunity. Maybe I'll get it later. Who knows? Folks, I see that I am bloggers on the rise. She says, dang, totally got the email for both accounts. She says, got the other people are getting the email. Yeah, I didn't get the email. I did want to briefly mention, just for the State of the Union, how the 3 sites that I've been working on in the past month are doing. For those of you who follow me, know that I have been primarily working on the fight site because I would really like to get that site up to $1,000 a month. This is a slow grower. It is not a site that took off like a rocket. I started it in July of last year, and I'm happy to say that recently on Ezoic that the site has jumped from making, $50, $60, $70 a month to close to $200 a month, which I feel like is really heading in the right direction. Part of that is that I've continued to post content that I think is more valuable as far as Ezoic goes. And there has been some traffic increases as the result of navigating the recent updates in a positive way. So the traffic to that site is up 9% in the last 30 days, which I'm not unhappy about. I would be happier if that were more. I mean, who wouldn't be happier if that were more? But still, I can't be unhappy with it. It definitely has not gone down, has not been lost. My Otis.global case study site, which, as you know, in the last 9 months has been really up and down. I've struggled with indexing, with updates, and all the rest. In the last 30 days, that site is actually up 104%, which is definitely positive. I'm excited to get to work on that site more. I didn't check the earnings for it this morning, but it's earning between $20 and $30 a month, which, is one of those initial baby steps. The Miga site overall is down 7% in the last 30 days, but I do have some, I'm looking down at my sheet because I wrote it down. But I do have some hope that in the upcoming 30 days that the traffic will improve. It looks like it was impacted by the helpful content update, but as that appears to have been rolled back, traffic has been coming back. I've also been getting traffic from some other referral sources like Newsbreak. I'm not sure how or what or who or why, because it is very odd and sort of spread out, but I'm investigating that more as time goes on. I'm super jazzed about going forward, and I feel really positive about this whole business, even though things have been very turbulent lately, partially because, one, I am taking steps to work on quality of life. So instead of sitting here at the computer, like tearing my hair out when things are going bad, I have been walking more, even moving towards jogging a little bit. It's more like flailing down the street, but I'm working on it. And I highly recommend incorporating some sort of physical activity, especially when you're the kind of person like me who could just sit here all day and do nothing. Also trying to eat a little bit better. And then just get engaged in other things that I feel passionate about. And overall, that's like trickling down into how I feel about this business and how I'm like managing to make it through the ups and downs. So for those of you who were having a hard time with the recent updates, I think we can all say we're with you. And then maybe the first thing that you should do, instead of digging into what went wrong, is to make a nice dinner, something that you really want to eat, and take a walk, hang out with a friend, and just not do this, at least for a little while, until you've had a chance to just get your headspace back where it belongs. That's my primary recommendation. So Sonia, you were asking me what I think you should do. I think you should go outside or meet with a friend and have tea or coffee or a drink or whatever it is that you like to do, and just not do this for a little while. Those are my recommendations, folks. I do have to run because I am going to get off onto one of those other things that I really would like to do so very much. It has, as always, been a joy and a pleasure to speak with you. I look forward to hearing what you managed to get done in the week, next week, on Wednesday. Maybe even, yeah, at probably 9:45 here. I'm on Pacific time. Could be as even as early as 9:30. I will try to tweet. I will try to share the just the information about when I plan to go live. Otherwise, let's get some work done. It'll be a great day. I'll talk to you soon. Okay, take care.